Hey, good morning. Patricia Murphy here. It's Saturday. This is Seattle Now. Today we're bringing you the best from another KUOW podcast, Meet Me Here. If you are looking to get out and dance in Seattle, you've probably stumbled on a themed dance night. Taylor Swift night, 2000s dance party, dance yourself clean. The options are endless. You can even let your inner angsty teenager out at Emo Nite. No, seriously. Emo has taken over clubs in the Seattle area and across the U.S. with events like the monthly Emo Nite at Neumos. Meet Me Here's Dyer Oxley sat down with Emo Nite DJ Danny Vigill to talk about the growing trend of emo dance nights and chatted with Sub Pop's Michelle Fegahli and KUOW's Popescu about their emo favorites. Here's Dyer.
Okay, I'm going to start this with a little bit of story time. You see, a little while back, I was going to play some pinball at the Airport Tavern. That's over in South Tacoma. But I was stopped at the door and told to pay $10 to get in because it was Emo Nite. It's the first time I ever encountered something like this. But it turns out there is a considerable emo trend taking over clubs across the United States. A DJ, sometimes a live band, will crank out a lineup of emo songs. Crowds love it, but I'm going to admit I was a little bit disappointed. I didn't hear one Sunny Day Real Estate song. There was no Jawbreaker, no Mineral. Instead, it was like this blend of poppy punk songs from Green Day or Panic at the Disco, which, if I'm honest, I previously would never have really thought of this as emo. So here's the thing, and this is important. I'm wrong. I had a total blind spot here. My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, that has become the dominant form of emo. And after bringing this up with a few other music snobs, I am not the only person blindsided by this. So I turned to Danny Vigill, who sort of put me straight on all this. He's a DJ for Neumos Emo Nite. Now, that is spelled N-I-T-E. He thinks about what is and what isn't emo all the time. It's very personal for him. And he told me that the songs he plays at Emo Nite have to be songs that people live out their rock star fantasies from a very specific era.
It's just this big party where we always wanted to be on stage growing up, but we never were because none of us were talented. And so now all of a sudden you get to get up on the stage and sing Yellow Card's Ocean Avenue. And scream it out, and people are looking up at you, and it feels almost like you're at a concert, and you're the star of the concert. And I think that mixed with just the community of people who we all grew up as misfits, or we all grew up as the perception of misfits. But I think what we realize now is there was a lot more of us that felt that way. Whether it was true or not, we all felt that way, and we all found kind of this escape in music. So now we get to come together and celebrate it. And it's such like a fun atmosphere that I think that's why it's so successful.
Music-wise, is there a song that seems to be the hit, the like popular hit at Emo Nite?
The song that is the emo anthem is always My Chemical Romance's Welcome to the Black Parade.
Okay.
That defines the entire night, I would argue. And if you don't play that song, it's very well noticed.
When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band.
We actually do it in Seattle. Spoiler alert, if you ever come into Emo Nite, we always do the Black Parade at midnight. And we do confetti, we do the lights are crazy, and it's a whole thing where it's just a whole production for Welcome to the Black Parade.
You're bringing in some kind of generational specific factoids here that really leans into the millennial aspect of this era, but it does make me wonder who is actually showing up for these shows. It's not like millennials don't go to clubs, but usually your club going scene is these days, in your 20-something. So who exactly is showing up?
Everyone from, it's crazy. I think that it does lend to somewhat of a younger audience because, again, most millennials who are in their upper 30s, such as myself, I'm the outlier here who I enjoy going out to and doing things till 3 a.m. But most people want to be in bed by 8:30 after they had their nighttime tea. But again, I think that you have the people that want to come out and relive their teen years and stuff. Do they come every month? Probably not. That's probably more of the, 20 to early 30-year-olds. And then in Spokane, we actually do an all ages Emo Nite. And we have kids and like teenage kids there that their parents bring them. And it's kind of like a whole thing where they're up singing every line to every song that I play. And I'm just like, how you were not even a thought in your parents' mind yet? How is this happening? And I think that just speaks to how powerful the genre is. The millennial generation and younger are kind of just, always kind of pushed to the side in a sense. And I think that, you have a lot of these people, especially in Seattle, I've noticed, that are very music snobby when it comes to Seattle music. And it's understandable, right? You had the Nirvanas and the Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam. And to me, Pearl Jam was always old. Like that, they just weren't my generation of music. And I think a lot of people just kind of discard millennials' likes and whatnot. And it's like, no, we're of age now where our music was huge for us. And now you have the, I say, Simple Plan is getting close to being able to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it's like, wait a minute, what? Simple Plan? I'd never think of saying Simple Plan. I think that that's an interesting concept to say because I think that, when do you start redefining lines of what rock music is? And I think that that's something that emo has really the emo scene, the pop punk scene has kind of really highlighted for me in the past few years of realizing like, this is the nostalgic rock now that's 20 years old. I don't necessarily know that you call Green Day classic yet, but maybe you do. I don't know.
Danny Vigill runs the Emo Nite, Nite, at Neumos, and I just want to note this. This night is not to be confused with Emo Nite, spelled like you'd expect. And while we're at it, it's also not to be confused with the Emo Rave, or the I'm Not Okay Emo Pop Punk Karaoke Night, or Emo Easter, or Screamo de Mayo. I could go on. All of these are real events that have happened in Seattle and the surrounding area. And over at the Airport Tavern, where I had my first encounter, I do recommend that one myself. Those folks do really get quite into it. So Danny said something I hadn't really, thought as deeply about before. It's the idea that this genre gets to evolve over time. Just like rock music itself, it has evolved many times. Green Day and Taking Back Sunday, yes, they sound absolutely nothing like Sunny Day Real Estate or Jawbreaker, the bands that I like. But still, they do get to have this emo stamp now. And I'm doing my best with that. To further help me understand this distinction, I am bringing in some emo experts. Michelle Fegahli, the radio promotions manager and A&R representative at Sub Pop Records, and Tio Popescu, graphic and data editor at KUOW, and longtime emo fan and Emo Nite attendee. Just to establish this here, you are both millennials, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Michelle, I'm going to start with you because Danny kind of explained what emo music sort of is or what we associate it with. What is your relationship with this genre?
Emo to me, because I've been working in music for so long and have been trying to figure this question out for myself of like, what is emo? I feel like I kind of have to be a purist and say that it comes from like Discord Records and Rites of Spring and those bands from the 1980s in DC that were kind of like hardcore adjacent, probably weren't calling themselves emo because it wasn't a thing yet. And it was really just like hardcore punk.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it came out of for me. That's where the story started. And then you get into like Midwest emo, Sunny Day Real Estate through Sub Pop Records, shout out by the way, and all those like more indie leaning emo bands. I feel like my journey started with emo when I started like working at Michigan State and then listening to bands like Brand New and American Football. And then all the bands after that I grew up loving. I am a millennial. I loved My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, all that stuff. But that was more pop punk to me. But I still hear people calling it emo all the time. It kind of bugs me.
Tio?
Yeah, I think of it as like a temporal stamp of anything in that entire lineup from that period in time. Like the nostalgia element of it is part of the label
like
to me.
2000 on after that. Temporal
like,
stamp is a term I'm stealing, by the way.
I like that.
Yeah.
So when someone says they're into emo music to me today, I'm like, okay, we're going to find at least two bands that we both like. They're probably also going to put Paramore in there, which to me is I can't with people who put Paramore as an emo band, but it plays at every emo night. It plays just as consistently as My Chemical Romance does.
Can I throw something at you?
Yeah.
Because it's involved in this nostalgia thing. I was talking to Danny about this, and not just his emo night, but there are emo nights where they will play Limp Bizkit because the era specific thing comes into that temporal stamp. So it's not emo, but it's still in that same end of the temporal swimming pool.
Lit will also get played.
Okay.
Just for my own personal safety, I have to say, I have no problem with Paramore. Paramore is great.
I love Paramore, personally.
I know.
All your responses can be emailed to...
No. Let me be clear. I love Paramore. I just don't think you need to play Paramore at Emo Night. You can get Paramore so many other places. Emo Night is for like a blast from the past. Anyway,
that is a blast from the past, and it is in the same genre. They're all pop. It's all pop punk in there, babe.
We're talking around a lot of emo stuff. To you, what is the essence of emo music? We talked about bands, but I mean, Michelle, do you just want to start off? Like, what exactly is the essence of emo to you? What makes emo emo?
That's such a good question. The essence of emo to me, I mean, every band that I can think of in any of those waves, first wave, second wave, third wave, anything after that, they're all just upset. Whether they're whining, screaming, singing, whispering.
But isn't it like a lot of music is kind of just upset? We could say that like in the 90s with the whole grunge thing, you know, Generation X was just so apathetic and upset that, you know, they were so slackerish.
But then it goes apathetic, slackerish. I feel like emo is like outwardly emotive, upset, and trying to express themselves and share that with their audience.
Okay. They're trying to process something.
Yeah.
Let me throw something out because that kind of gets into kind of my point. The millennial side of me, it feels like emo is the defining genre of that generation. But, I mean, does that ring true to you at all?
Well, yeah. I feel like we're missing a core part of that time in 2006 and those early 2000s is that a lot of us were on MySpace. And MySpace was a space where a lot of those bands were getting played. It was like one of the first music platforms where people could share music in a way. And
I still miss the social media experience of putting a song on your cover page. Facebook, nobody's ever done that again. But if you could just put a song on your cover page, it would be great.
Instagram does that now, actually.
Okay, all right, I'm going to do that.
I hate that I know that, but it's true.
I'm glad you brought up MySpace because I was going to say, I mean, for me, LiveJournal was happening shout out to LiveJournal, was happening at the same time. I really do think like millennials is a large category in and of itself, but I'll speak from my own personal experience. Like at a time when everything feels very big in your life at that age, roughly age range, and you now have these online platforms that are essentially like online journaling of your feelings and expressing who you are, MySpace, LiveJournal, these things. You have all of that, and you also have a little bit of like institutional exasperation with like things happening in the political world. You put all that together and you make therapy not yet really a big popular thing, and you end up with a lot of emo songs. Like a lot of emo songs, if you read the lyrics out, you're like, that's probably a conversation you should have had with your therapist, but you probably didn't have one yet. And
so real.
So instead you're going to literally scream those lyrics out because you like need to get it out there. And then now, as an adult going back to Emo Night, one of my favorite things is like you take a song like There's No I in Team by Taking Back Sunday, and everyone has an experience like that in their past around like relationships, and we'll just scream it at each other. And I'm like, yeah, you probably needed to talk to someone about it then, but now you've like developed this coping mechanism and you will keep doing that. You will do other things too, but like it's a nice catharsis. Like there's like a catharsis to it.
But also this is the generation that, kicks off the millennium with 9/11. We've got Iraq, Afghanistan, other politics going on. Eventually the Great Recession. I can go on and on and on, but these are all kind of anxiety-inducing events for a generation. It almost feels like, yeah, of course, during this time we're going to, even if they didn't call it emo music, but it was going to be something that deals with anxiety, mental health, and so forth.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I have one question for you. It's the hardest one. Last question. Somebody who's perhaps just doesn't know anything about what we're talking about here. You've got 2 emo bands to tell them about. What are those 2 bands you want to turn them on to?
Oh, man, that's so tough. There's so many, and there's all these different waves and different side genres. And I feel like I've always been trying to figure out all of the subgenres and really know the history, because I think at the end of the day, I'm also a music snob. I can't not be. So let's start with the basics. I really like The Promise Ring. Start there. And then maybe if you want to get into like some of the more newer wave emo, I personally really like this band called The Hotelier. They had a really great album that came out in 2014 that is very cathartic and kind of whiny and screamy and twinkly and beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Tio, I'm assuming Paramore is on your list.
Yeah. Your fave.
Oh my God. Again, this is gonna be my biggest mistake, was saying anything about Paramore. No shade to Paramore, just not what I need at Emo Nite. Anyway, I'm gonna be the like stereotype here in a lot of ways, but I will say Taking Back Sunday. I think if you're, especially for the more screamo side of things, Taking Back Sunday is a good one to kind of introduce that part of the genre. I mentioned them earlier, but I would do Heavy Heavy Lolo, which is like a much smaller band. If I give someone Taking Back Sunday and they go, okay, I can, this is okay with me, I'm happy with this, I want to try to like edge them into Heavy Heavy Lolo territory and then see where we can go from there.
Okay. I think those are definitely within that temporal stamp you talked about, like those 2 bands. So if I was going to throw 2 out there, though, I mean, clearly this has been the big name that I've been bringing up, Sunny Day Real Estate. So I think a lot of people point to that band. I don't think Sunny Day Real Estate even tries to, I don't know if they distance themselves from emo. They never claimed emo. It just is this thing that got thrown on them, and it's just never gone away. But if there was another band that kind of takes you back, Jawbreaker, I think is another. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. And so Jawbreaker is another one of these 90s bands. If you really want to go back, we mentioned Rites of Spring back in like the 80s and all that. And it can go back pretty far. But Sunny Day Real Estate and Jawbreaker are going to be my 2. And hopefully that can start you on a playlist of emo education.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. Meet Me Here is hosted by Dyer, Oxley, Jeannie Yandel, and Katie Campbell, and produced by Kyle Norris, Brandy Fullwood, and Matt Martin. If you want to hear more, search up Meet Me Here wherever you get your podcasts or listen on the KUOW app. Our production team includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Andy Hurst, Vaughn Jones, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.